Hi, my name is Elisa. We are looking at the reproductive system. This time we're going to go over the female reproductive system, and this is part one, introduction and sexual differentiation. There is a little bit more complexity in the female reproductive system as opposed to the male because there serves a few more enduring purposes. Although they do share the purpose of producing and delivering the gametes, what ends up happening is after that's done in the male, it continues on in the female during fetal development, hence pregnancy, the process of giving birth and labor, and then nourishing the infant and actually young child. So in the West here, we usually do breastfeeding for about like a year or two, and it's been shown that humans are able to do this actually for about the first 5 years of life, and may have uh, during different parts of our I guess evolutionary history. I don't know. It's kind of new stuff for me, but it's neat. It's neat. Okay, so the female system is more cyclic. Their hormones are secreted in a complicated sequence, and we will go through that. Sexual differentiation. For the first like part of the like during the first trimester of pregnancy, for the most part, you can't tell the difference between male and female fetuses because they just haven't really started developing the external genitals, right? And that's actually how we tell still if there's male or female uh, developing fetus. There's also, different types of blood tests that can tell you, but ultrasound is can detect it around the first 8 to 10 weeks for sure. And the female reproductive tract develops from paramesonephric ducts, and it's not because of any of the positive action of any hormones such as testosterone. It's just because it's like a lack of testosterone. So without testosterone, the mesonephric ducts do degenerate, right? And so the genital tubercle becomes the glans clitoris, urogenital folds become labia minora, and the labioscrotal folds will develop into the labia majora as opposed to the scrotum in males. Um, Without MIF, which is the Mullerian inhibiting factor, the mesonephric ducts are going to develop into those uterine tubes, right? Because we kept those. And we're also going to see them continue on to develop the uterus and the vagina just by expanding and becoming a little larger, taking up more real estate. The genitalia comes in the internal and the external variety. The internal genitalia is going to include the ovaries, uterine tubes, uterus, and vagina, all the things that are on the inside of the body. The external genitalia is going to be everything that is on the external part of the body, such as the clitoris, labia minora, labia majora, and then a suite of subcutaneous glands as well, and the blood-filling erectile tissues, right? And so this is occupying the perineum. The primary sex organs are still the ovaries, right? Because that's where the eggs are. And the secondary sex organs are just like anything else that's the internal or external that I mentioned, genitals. So here is the female reproductive tract. Let's go from top to bottom. Top superior is the uterine tube, right? So formerly known as the fallopian tubes, currently renamed to the more specific uterine tubes. They have these little like hands, it looks like little hands, and on the ends are these fingers, and these fingers are fembrae, and these fembrae kind of like grab and take the maturing egg as it is released from the ovary, which is right here. Most fertilization actually occurs as we know it to be in the uterine tube and not in the uterus. So there is a little nugget of information for you. I don't think that was on the test, but there it is. The uterus is suspended two ways, a couple of ways actually, but let's start with this one. So the big one is going to be the ligamentous system, which this is the big one, the round ligament, which when you see it in the dissected view, it's actually it's very, very large. And that's really important because this uterus doesn't always stay this small in individuals who actually, go on to have pregnancies. The other thing that is supporting it is directly underneath it is the peritoneum, of course, right here, serosal layer, but then also the urinary bladder is right underneath. So any of those of us who have had kids remember that late stage of pregnancy, that gigantic uterus now crushing on that tiny little bladder. Um, yeah, so that would be why, and that would be where. The pubic symphysis is just actually part of the pelvic bones, right? Mons pubis is like a tissue right here. It makes a little like this mountain of the pubic mountain is what it translates to essentially. The urethra is not fused with the birth canal in females, right? So males have two holes, right? So the female has three. So females will have an anus. Um, Here is the vagina and the vaginal orifice. This is the opening part. And then over here is going to be the urinary bladder and the urethra, right? Which is opposed to males, which there is a fused tube here. So clitoris is on the outside of the external genitals, right? So clitoris is going to house quite a bit of the neurons, very highly sensitive. It's analogous to the head of the penis, the precipice as well as out here. The labia Pinus and the labia majus, right? So labia minora and then labia majora being analogous to scrotum in males. Let's see here. The vaginal rugae is just this kind of rougher area that you see right here in the vagina. Let's see what else. We talked anus, right? So over here, this is like, this is the large intestine and then of course the rectum. Let's go back. Yes. Okay. Cervix of the uterus is right here. It's like the opening, right, of the uterus right here. It's where the mucus plug would form during pregnancy, for example. Um, Rectouterine pouch is just this tiny bit of serosa that's kind of like right in this area that's separating the rectum and the uterus as well. As you can see, it's a very, very thin wall right here between the rectum and the vagina altogether. It is not part of the serosa dividing it. So there's like that, they're just very close together. Um, let's see here, the vesicouterine pouch, which is right up superior, ovary, ovary, femore. Yes, that's everybody. That's everybody. Okay, and we'll look at those in greater detail. Yes, we're starting right now. So that's it for the introduction, and so we will get into the ovaries in the next video, and I hope that was helpful.